Alright, welcome back. I'm here with another Orfist deck profile. I made top 8 at Legacy Cup, and I'm super excited to talk about this deck and the event as a whole. It was a fantastic time. I was able to so much done at the event. It ran so smoothly. I will be giving you this, and by the time this video comes out, I will have all the analytics and information that I need to give a proper tournament breakdown and a top 8 breakdown and talking about all the decks. Had a fantastic time. I made it into top 8 and then got smacked by Magnolia. That was one of the wildest games I've ever played. It was card for card, went super late, and I healed like 3 times. It was a fantastic time overall. For the profile itself, ride line, Evan, one day you'll get these cards back. I don't know when, I'm going to be honest. Of course, have to have the lovely shadow tokens. Shout out to Chris Bunis for making these for me. Super nice. Have the original ones in case anyone wants me to use them. So going into this event, I really wanted to play Loranero. I don't know this thing. I don't know how to pronounce its name. But I playtested the entire day before, trying to figure out the deck and get ready to play it, but I ended up just defaulting back to Orfist, even after trying Bastion, but it was still way too uncomfortable. I guess I stuck with what I knew, and then fortunately played it out well enough. So, the remaining copies of Persona Ride. I did not call this onto a Rigorate Circle, even though I wanted to. There were certain situations where I needed to just be conservative because I got damage denied about like 2 or 3 times during the entire event, and I just needed to save this so that I could save it for a Persona Ride and then create a better board state with tokens or just units. For orders, I'm playing 3 of the Retire Order, playset of the Draw Order, and then 1 copy of the token. This I will search out turn 2 because I need the offensive pressure, and I can create 20 if the token, giving it 5k to play through 1 defense trigger. One of the best things that you can do is you can have Alvidar and you can have Bulbul Mine behind it so that you can create a 20k line. So if you make a shadow token on your other side and you give the 5k to it, you can have your Vanguard be a 10 and then your sides are 20s, which allows you to play through 1 defense trigger. Bulbul Mine can give it into Soul, so if you take 1 damage, you'll have the 2 for Orfist, and you can stay at a lower damage count if you have the shield value. Since turn 4, I'm anticipating my opponent to Persona Ride, and I will not have the card economy for me to properly defend against it. And that definitely came up a lot. I fought against Nirvana round 1, and this came in completely clutch. Every time he had Urger on board, I had this in hand to snipe it so that he didn't have the intercept. And this by itself won me the games against him, because this took away the shield value that he had for it, and he was just behind the entire game because he made me go second, and I was able to pull a successful rush off. He gave me the damage. Turn 2 made this, held tempo. Turn 3 he hit me, made Orfist. Turn 4 he Persona Ride, and then 5 I was able to just end the game because he didn't have enough shield value for it, since this really just saved me. I wouldn't say that this became more of a control-orientated build, but the list has been solved ever since, like, set 2, the first profile that I made, Team Best Girls profile, was very similar, and there haven't been changes since there's nothing major that you can do with this deck outside of just personal deviations, in my opinion, which I do want to experiment with later on. The remaining grade 2s were Alvidar and Eagle. So originally I was just playing 2 Eagle, same thing with Best Girl, and this one is a blank. This could be anything you personally want, in my mind. I ended up just putting in an eagle so that I could have another 5k shield. Because initially I was playing Rudis, and I just had it there as a card to throw down early and swing into if I'm going to be, or to attack my opponent if I'm going to be fighting against Bastion. But the only problem is that with Rudis being called on the board, it does not accomplish anything anything beyond turn 3 of the game. You're going to be calling over it with a token due to your board state needing to have Thumberino on the sides or Alvidar, or even this itself. You're not, the only place where Rudis can stay is behind the Vanguard, and that goes against the point of having the card itself on the board, which is to throw it down to the side and to attack into your opponent so that you can get early damage in. Since Orfist being a 3-attack deck, we do need to push early so that the 30k columns with potential triggers can push our opponent and hard pressure them out of the game. I have an offensive trigger lineup right now playing 8 crit, 3 front, and the over. So effectively 9 crit, and you can play more grade 1s to help with that offensive push, but as I explained, you might end up calling over them and creating awkward board states for you. But this is primarily to control against my opponent, since I can out-resource them in terms of unit economy. Since I can Orfist 2.5 times per game, if I heal and use Bubble Mine, that's the 3rd instance. And this came up, Eagle was definitely a strong contender, since I fought against not even matchup specifically. Every round that I had, Eagle came up. I ended up having 2 on the sides, killed the tokens back in the corners, and then next turn made more tokens and got rid of more units, and they fell super behind at that point. They weren't able to hold offensive pressure, and they had a very, very weak turn. Super solid. This is very important for going first against Bruce, of course, because you can snipe their starter as well. But fortunately, I did not encounter Bruce the entire tournament, and I was super thankful for that. 4 PGs, I don't have anything insightful to say about that. Just happy that it came up. The 1 card guard is super nice. Bubble Mine. So something very important to note is the interaction that these 2 cards have. Or rather, just like a fantastic turn 2 opening if you go first or second. Just in general. So, playset of Bubble Mine, playset of Thumberino, but the only thing that really matters is the fact that you can... This is your best turn 2 play if you have both of these. You're going to search the world order. That makes a token due to Rudis, so that's guaranteed. But this is your strongest turn 2 play, since you will not be damage denied. This will go into Soul to C-Charge. This will clear itself off the board and push for 38, which is super nice. You can give the 5k for Cucuta to itself to hit 23. So if they drop to 15, that's still a 1 to pass, which is super threatening. Because if you check an offensive trigger, that sets them super behind in terms of 1 card, and they can't guard this without investing 2, if not more cards. So very good push for the early game. But this allows you to not get damage denied. Like I explained before, if you have Alvidar on the side, you can do something like this, where you have the 5k to the token itself, and then you can have 10, 20, 20, which is very strong for pushing in turn 2 again if you don't have the Thumberino, since you can also just do something like this if you want to, and this can be Eagle, this can be Alvidar if you want to. But if you need to retire something, your attack pattern is going to be off. So if you need to retire something, that's why I recommend this, because you can attack with high numbers, playing for defense triggers. However, you can still resolve this without creating an awkward scenario of attacking incorrectly. I am currently running 8 crit, 3 fronts, the 1 over, and 4 heal. I was thinking about playing draw triggers, especially because of how I am as a player, I like the fronts in terms of shield value. I don't like the fronts for being a front trigger. Personally, I'd rather have card economy and defense draws against my opponent, which are incredibly strong, especially because we really lack shield value in Overdress. I was a damn sack this entire event. I checked the overtrigger, I believe, every round, and that was game deciding. I checked this and just ended games outright. It was the most wild thing I've ever seen. But there we go. What I forgot to mention also is, if for whatever reason I had Bulbul Mine, I would end up just playing it turn 2 if I'm attacking, so that I can swing in for 16. The only reason why I did this was to push for early damage and to make them guarding against me much more difficult. I needed to push as early as possible. Having the high crit count was going to help with that, especially when trying to close games and when attempting to either double crit them out of the game or just checking 2 crits, splitting them on the side so that they have to guard. That did come up. That was just more variance play, but it ended up mattering. I ended up fighting against a Overlord player, and that was the grindiest game I have ever had. But I was able, he hit the offensive overtrigger. That set me behind, but fortunately I was able to just check double crit, split them on sides, and he lost the card economy that he gained from the overtrigger, which is very nice. My rounds overall were, I believe, it was Nirvana round 1. I fought Magnolia round 2, and I got super rushed in. Game 3, I was sweating. I had a crowd around me, and I looked at the board state. I had a 15, a front, and an order. I was dead to rights. I check the overtrigger and scream. Everyone wanted to smack me. That was the most game-deciding thing in the highest variance-based play that could have happened. It was insane. Round 3, I fought against Bastion, and I have this recorded since thankfully Team Gradelock was able to do streaming, so there is a VOD of that on YouTube. I'll put that in the description, and I'm also going to give a post-match analysis of that, since that's something that I can talk about and provide more insight, especially for the interactions that this matchup has against that. Round 4, I fought against PBD, which was super surprising. I lost by round 3 against Jose, which was still wild. He had 2 PGs in his opening hand, game 3, and he chose not to mulligan them back, and that won him the game, because I checked an offensive overtrigger, and he had the shield value for the other sides, which was insane. And then round 5, I fought Overlord. Game went super late. He damage denied me for 2 turns during each game, but because he was on Persona rides when he chose to do so, he fell behind in card economy, so I always had 7 or more cards against him because I knew how to play in terms of unit economy and guard effectively in that matchup. I was very fortunate also. I drew into 2 PGs over the course of the game so that I was able to stay stabilized and be safe the entire time at 4 damage. And after that, I faced Magnolia in top 8, which is a super interesting list. I can't wait to talk about that when I do the top 8 breakdown. And that game was wild. It was card for card and came down to him checking 1 crit trigger out of his 8-card deck, and he got it, and that was it. That was an incredible game that we had, honestly. But I had a fantastic time. I'm going to come out with more content since there's a ton of information that I need to talk about and give out to the public for this. But overall, I had a fantastic time, and thank you very much for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.